I've created a mod that allows me to play as my own avatar once again in F1 25 My Team Career Mode. We've had no other option but signing 2 real drivers every single season. But from today, that changes. Strap yourselves in. This is a pretty big pre-season episode. 4-way driver's title will be decided in Abu Dhabi. Piastri goes through on the outside. Oscar Piastri, he might be out of this title fight, but he's going to be a big team player. He's overtaken Tsunoda. He's held him up a treat, and that's enough. This might be enough for us. But here comes Aaron. We need to be very careful. I cannot get damage here. And also, if I repass Aaron, I have to do it in a way that doesn't slow him up, because Tsunoda cannot overtake him. That cannot happen for us to win the championship. Here we go. This is going to have to be a very delicate overtake, a very calculated one. On the inside, really aggressive, hugging the line, not giving Aaron too much dirty air, and we're through into P3. Now, if this was real life, you feel like Aaron might wave Tsunoda by, but it's the F1 game. There's no mechanic like that. Unless a miracle happens for the AI, Tsunoda will not pass Aaron here, I don't think. And there's a monumental battle happening behind between Verstappen and Piastri. It's kind of nice, all 4 of us being close together in the last sector. But unlike last season, we've done enough. We've come through for a tense win.
Yes! We've done it! You are the world champion!
Our top story tonight on Sky Sports F1. Butler Global and aarava Ltd have announced a surprise landmark agreement for the upcoming 2030 season. On top of Butler Global becoming a major sponsor of the reigning 3-time Constructors Champions, they'll also gain a significant stake in the team, reports are putting it around 45%. With this, the team states a majority restructuring is in place and that Archer Aarava will no longer be leading the team. Another person from within the Butler Global company will step in to become the team principal. Quite amazingly though, instead of semi-retiring to a beach in rather shocking news, Archer Aarava has announced his return to Formula 1 after more than 6 years away from the cockpit. Much to the surprise of Kimi Antonelli and Oscar Piastri, the team have decided to completely refresh their lineups to accommodate their new owner-driver and a top talent alongside that our sources say have been signed to the team for this new project since mid-last season. The return of Aarava to Formula 1 has been questioned by many as foolish, with some experts saying he's past it, whilst others commend the risk he is taking with his own team on the line too. One brand that is certainly backing his return is Lotus, who have signalled their return to Formula 1 in a new title partnership with Aarava Archer Racing. Lotus is the most successful former constructor in Formula 1 with 79 race wins, 7 constructors titles and 6 drivers titles, including 2 championships with Jim Clark and multiple wins with Ayrton Senna. And they have stated they now want to write more history with Aarava at the wheel in an all-new black and gold car. Jaguar remain as the team's power unit supplier with a contract still in place, but Jaguar mutually have agreed to cut back their overall partnership with the team, citing growing costs of being in Formula 1. They have shown their commitment to the sport, however, and Aarava Lotus Racing as they'll now be known as, with upgrades over the winter break. With so much change on the horizon for one of the newest teams on the F1 grid, the question will be, can they land on their feet after a whirlwind winter, or will they face turbulence all started by their now new owner-driver? Only time will tell.
And where are we going to be spending that time? Around the in-game year of 2030. This is the brand new calendar for Season 6. 16 rounds ahead of us to digest these big changes. I wasn't kidding at the top of the episode. You know, you really had to strap yourselves in. A lot of change, a lot of unintended change from how I'm sure the developers thought this game mode was going to be played. But that's the beauty of some mods and some magic to get ourselves back back into the cockpit. I'll get more into that in a bit, but here is the new calendar with a few little tweaks here and there. We start off in familiar territory, though, down under for the Australian Grand Prix. Japan, Suzuka comes back to the calendar after, I think, 2 seasons of it not being here. We then go to Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Monaco, Spain, Canada, and then it's the run of European races from Austria to Silverstone. Belgium reverse. Zandvoort is back, as that was quite a great one last season. A lot of chaos there. Monza, Baku, and then a great run of Brazil, Vegas as a second last episode. A real gamble to set up a finale at Abu Dhabi. It was certainly a great run-in of those last 3 races in Season 5, so I'm hoping the same again for Season 6, but yeah, a lot's changed. A lot's changed here as we are now in the black and gold of Aarava Lotus Racing. But I am no longer in that back office leading this team from the HQ, because we have got our own avatar back in the cockpit of this game. And before we get more into that, you might be wondering who's alongside me. Well, let's take you back a little bit to the mid part of last season.
Big day. The team feel we now have enough info following our talks with possible drivers that we can now start negotiating contracts. Drivers who we've had at least an early meeting with may now be receptive to discussing a contract. Time to get things ready for next season.
So as soon as the contract window opened last season, in the background, without you guys knowing, I went straight in for the one driver I knew I wanted to be alongside me, because at this point I already knew that I wanted to go back into the cockpit and get Archer Aarava as a character back in this team, in the driving seat, and alongside him I had to go for Max Verstappen. We have been up against Max so many times in this series. It just made sense to finally get in the same machinery as him and see what we're really made of.
Okay, set. Now we wait. Hopefully we'll hear back soon, but these things do tend to drag on. Let's keep our fingers crossed and just focus on what we can control. I'll let you know if I hear anything.
And thankfully, he accepted straight away. It's a very lucrative contract for himself, $30 million plus dollars. But this is our lineup now. It is so awesome, I gotta say, to once again see my own character alongside an official F1 driver in the My Team series. But yeah, you might be wondering how we've actually done this. I will now lift the veil of what I've done basically to make this mod happen. So it's a combination of a few different things. First of all, a major part of this mod is a language editor mod, which I'll link down below in the description. Some amazing investigative work had been done to bring back language editing in the F1 games, and by that I mean it allows you to edit any text you see in the game and therefore edit the text of a driver. So I have used an existing British driver. It's actually Jenson Button in this case, so it's actually quite fitting and funny in a way that underneath the hood, this is actually JB, but I've changed it to me. And then in terms of the character model, you might kind of already notice the character face model is actually Arvid Lindblad, and the texture is, well, my own texture, because I actually have the honor of a couple of years ago, not anymore now, they removed all of us, but a couple of years ago, a bunch of us creators actually were in the game as NPCs. Like, they scanned my face, I think it was back in 2017, so it's a little bit old and obsolete, but it's better than nothing. So I've used that texture on top of Arvid Lindblad's face model and put that on top of Jenson Button's character, swap the name out, and you can't tell. It is now fully baked into my version of this game. Is I'm there alongside Verstappen. We click in and it's me. You can see my stats borrowed from Jenson's, but to be fair, as an old ex-F1 driver who's now coming back to F1, the stats kind of make a bit of sense, you know, a lot of experience, 96. You know, this version of Archer Aarava is an old dog, you know, he's an old man, he's not been in F1 for 6+ years, so I would have the experience of 96. And 92, I mean, we have got our avatars in previous My Team series to 92 and above overall every single time by the time we're finishing the series. So I think the overall is also quite fitting of everything. So that's the kind of unveiling of how technically this mod has worked, but to all intents and purposes, you can forget that and just get lost in the immersion of, I have made it so that I am back in the game, in F1, in this series, alongside Max Verstappen. It's so great to have my custom helmet back alongside what I think is a very clean version of Verstappen's helmet without the Red Bull sponsoring and simply the aarava logo in Lotus gold on the front. I've opted for instead having my logo still in the fluoro neon and just having the Lotus logo there instead. And speaking of the Lotus gold, obviously you may have just noticed there with the overalls a very slick black and gold number and the car to match, which is based on the original Lotus JPS livery that Senna was driving with. Obviously more recently then was retaken by Lotus Renault in those early 2010s days with Raikkonen and Grosjean at the wheel, but this is more based off the original JPS Lotus of black and gold. And we've got Butler Global, of course, darted around the car as well as one of our main sponsors, along with obviously the Jaguar powered badging is underneath the hood. We've still got the Jaguar engine from last season with a couple of upgrades you may have seen also, though, is we've got some supplier upgrades in game actually. So actually in game we'll actually see a genuine bump of engine performance then, which ties in quite nicely, I guess, with the story we've built. And then around the car we've got a few IRL sponsors. Kind of main new one is Guinness on the front wing and on the main top of the chassis. I just thought it fit really well. The Guinness logo and the gold and black colors just fits just perfectly, really. So I just thought I'd put that in there just for a bit of a laugh. I also enjoy the drink quite a lot in real life. And the side pods, well, right now they're blank. Let me know, guys. Do you like the kind of slick, simple blank side pods? Because I wasn't too sure what sponsor to put on the side pod. I've left it blank for now because I think it could be quite a cool thing that every few races I put a unique localized sponsor, i.e. a sponsor that is tied to the country we're going to for the race. You see that sometimes in real life Formula 1. They do that with country-specific sponsors. So I thought maybe having a blank side pod at the start may open up the door to doing that for every race or every few races. Let me know in the comments below, though, if you have a sponsor that's jumping out of you that could fit this car very nicely. But with that, then a very smooth transition to the driver transfer new grid portion of this video. Aarava Lotus Racing now with Archer Aarava alongside Max Verstappen, a 96 rated Max Verstappen with 96 focus as well. So I've set myself up for a very hard challenge, and I want it to be. I really want to see how we can go toe to toe with Max in the same car, a car that hopefully for his sake won't let him down consistently as it has done in the past with that McLaren for the last 2 seasons. Speaking of McLaren, well, it's finally a nice return of Lord Percival himself. Charles Leclerc is back on the grid. He took a 1-year sabbatical after we dropped him at the end of season 4. He took a year out as a free agent, but he is back on the grid and he has taken Max Verstappen's slot at McLaren, who are now McLaren Marlboro Formula 1 with a tribute livery in the white and red back to their old school days of that cigarette sponsoring. They have still, though, managed to somehow retain Lance Stroll. I can't imagine how much money Lawrence Stroll is pumping into this team. It must be ridiculous at this point that Lance Stroll has outlasted Max Verstappen and is now alongside a 98 rated Charles Leclerc, which I've only just noticed by, though. That's insane. And what's even more insane as well is he's back. He's back from the dead. It's George Russell. Russell was off the grid for 4 seasons, I think it was. Wasn't he dropped in season 1? So after 4 seasons of being away and as a free agent, George Russell rises again and he is back on the grid. I'm so thankful for these 2 transfers. 2 massive names in IRL Formula 1 are back in the series now, and Russell is back at Red Bull of all teams. So that's a major transfer for Red Bull Ford, who now don a classic looking Red Bull blue livery with the Ford baby blue, the white outlines, very much like the real Red Bull livery. They may debut for 2026, literally tomorrow as I post this video. Russell alongside Pierre Gasly. So Red Bull, very controversially here in the series, they've dropped Colapinto, who was the driver leading this team and scoring more points than Pierre Gasly. So clearly a bit of team politics here, and Gasly has clearly called up a veto to boot Colapinto after being embarrassed by him. But his problem is he's now welcomed in George Russell, a 98 rated George Russell. So both Russell and Leclerc, two drivers coming back to Formula One, absolutely on smoke in terms of the overall ratings those two drivers have. So it's going to be a very tough teammate to beat for Pierre Gasly, and Red Bull are looking like an incredibly strong team. And another incredibly strong team last season was Williams Porsche. With our old engine supplier, they retain that gorgeous purple Porsche livery. But there has been some more internal politics at play, because you'll notice Yuki Tsunoda, the driver who surprisingly was in the title fight with us last season, he is not in Williams Porsche anymore. Paul Aron technically denied Tsunoda winning the championship by not letting him by on the last lap of the last race. But like in Red Bull, the driver who is lower in the standings has somehow retained his seat. Paul Aron, I don't know what dirty work he's done in the background and words he's been having in whispers behind Tsunoda's back, but Yuki's been kicked out for Zach O'Sullivan, of all people. An incredibly strange decision by Williams Porsche, and one we're going to have to digest for this season to see if it's going to make any sort of sense. One team that might be making some sense into this next season, though, is Scuderia Ferrari with a lovely new WEC-inspired livery. And you can see that they have switched up their lineup. They have retained Albon, but they have brought in a 90-rated Gabriel Bortoleto. I actually love this signing. That is an awesome signing for the Brazilian with the Italian team. And this makes a lot of sense because Ferrari, actually, after so many seasons of floundering, having won 2 back-to-back constructors in seasons 1 and seasons 2, they finally found a bit of a groove last season, but they just were missing that last little edge, and maybe some new blood could be that edge, because sometimes when you retain driver lineups, you get stuck in your old ways. Maybe they need a bit of freshness, and Bortoleto, a new 90 rated driver, could just be that. And more than anything, it's just great to see one of the junior rookie drivers in the base game make it up to a top team eventually after 6 seasons. It is a little bit harsh on Esteban Ocon, I will say, though, because he was the driver that led the championship with Ferrari last season at one point. But as we've seen with the driver transfers on this game, they sometimes are very harsh and maybe a little bit nonsensical in a way, as we have Audi Revolut Formula One team, this livery taking after the teaser livery that Audi showed us in real life, essentially, and using some of the real life sponsors that they have so far announced. They have a lineup of Jack Crawford and Taylor Barnard. So obviously Taylor Barnard actually had a bit of success with Audi, scoring some points finally for this team last season. So can this AI team build on it? We saw finally that they actually upgraded their R&D, so now pretty much I think every single AI team you see here is maxed out. So now it genuinely will just be about track to track, maybe rub of the luck, rub of the green, and how these drivers also progress in terms of their overall performance. So who knows what Audi could do. A couple of more points, maybe a top 5. I think that should be the goal for them this season. And speaking of a top 5, a team hoping to return to more consistent top 5s will be Aramco Honda Formula One. This team bought out from Aston Martin, now led by Aramco, and Honda as a works Honda team have an all-new look, now no longer in white and red for the Honda Japanese colors, more in the Aramco colors of that light green to blue gradient. A real silky, slick, kind of mean villain arc sort of number. I feel like this is the villain arc of Aramco Honda, because they should have been there last last season after such a strong season 4. They fell flat in season 5. Could this season 6 be the time for Aramco Honda to arrive on the scene? They have got an 87 rated Liam Lawson still at the team, and Zane Maloney has swapped over from Cadillac to Aramco Honda. We'll have to see how that's left that American outfit, but Zane Maloney's been pretty strong actually in the series, so that's actually quite an aid for Aramco Honda. Going on to now, Mercedes-AMG Petronas. They had a bit of a turbulent season last time out, and they've lost Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz retired from Formula 1. I thought that would have been the invite to bring some top talent to the Silver Arrows, but clearly maybe they're bankrupt from paying a 99 rated Lando Norris. Maybe his salary is way too high of 32 million because they can't afford anyone else. They've gone for Jack Doohan from Renault. Very, very strange signing. I suppose after the season they had, maybe they're looking to lick their wounds a little bit and just try and focus on the car rather than a strong driver lineup, because Carl Lando was a very strong duo, but last season that could not outdrive how horrible that car was and also how accident prone that Silver Arrow was. But a 99 rated Norris is still insane, so let's see what Mercedes could do this season. We now move on to a very exciting new team in Formula 1. It is the return of Benetton, the iconic green, white colours with a bit of pink for BWT as they buy out Renault's slot on the grid. It is now BWT Benetton F1. It's the return of Isaac Hadjar. He was another driver on the sidelines as a free agent, so great to see the Frenchman come in as an 80 rated driver to lead this team. A bit of an odd signing of Richard Verschoor on the other side of things, but I think Hadjar and Benetton as a pairing is great enough. That's exciting enough for this team, and I sincerely hope that Benetton have more success than Renault did in the last season. Just for the sake of this old name being back on the grid, I hope we see it plenty in episodes to come. Another midfield team we actually did see quite a bit from last season was Cadillac F1, who now sport an all-new, very tasty new look, I must say, with Tommy Hilfiger as a really nice combined sponsor with the Cadillac lettering on the side pod, I must say. And they retain Victor Martins, but bring in the Brazilian of Enzo Fittipaldi. So they've lost Zane Maloney, they brought in Fittipaldi, they retain Martins, and obviously there was a big success story for Cadillac F1 last season at Zandvoort Reverse, where Victor Martins came through to win Cadillac's first ever race in Formula 1. So they're building on that. They'll be hoping they can do more, and they'll be spurred on by that amazing memory from the Dutch Reverse Grand Prix last season, I am sure. Which now brings us on to the final team on this grid. It's not Haas anymore. It is Toyota Gazoo Racing. Like we've seen in real life, Toyota strengthening their partnerships with Haas. Well, in this series, Haas were sponsored by BWT last season. They have gone to the new Benetton team, and Toyota have decided to swoop in and take over the entire Haas outfit. So now it is Toyota Gazoo Racing. Marty still at the team alongside Nicholas Olof. And that pairing was actually pretty damn good, actually. I think a lot of you were saying quite underrated pairing, especially Marty, consistently was popping in some great performances. Maybe didn't, actually result in points sometimes, because eventually by the end of the race they'd fall away, but they were always kind of just there. We actually saw a lot more of them than you would have thought, and so I hope we can see more of them in Season 6, now driving as Toyota Gazoo Racing. And with that, I have to give a special mention to our fallen soldiers, the F1 free agent graveyard. It's a bit sad. Antonelli, Sonoda. Behrman's still in the graveyard. Ocon is now a part of it, having left Ferrari. Tim Tramnitz as well, of course, and Oscar Piastri. It's never great to see some of these big names not on the grid, especially for us, with also some of them having a story that we've created with them. But at the same time, I'm actually very thankful the game has given us back Leclerc, Russell, Hadjar. Those are 3 names that are welcomed back onto the grid. So overall, I'm actually still very happy with the set of driver transfers we have been given. But I'll say it again, I'll say it many times. I just hope one day that the game can give us the ability to custom make some of these transfers, or at least definitely just give us a patch for the 26 DLC to rebalance some of these transfers, because clearly some of them just aren't getting signed because they're too expensive, I guess, for the AI teams, and there's no real fix for it in-game at the moment. But nevertheless, overall, I'm still really, really happy with that new grid, and I hope you guys are as well, with all the new liveries as well, which I'll link down below in the description. But more so, I hope you guys are really pumped about the return of Archer Aarava, of my own avatar, into the game, into this team, alongside Max Verstappen in that gorgeous black and gold livery. And that sets us up for a brilliant 2030 Season 6 of My Team Career Mode. Guys, if you've enjoyed this pre-season vid, be sure to hit the like button, let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys round for round 1 of the new season.